Many of we descendants of enslaved Africans often repeats the narrative that we're suffering from some past trauma inflicted upon us during slavery. Those who repeats that narrative doesn't know how harmful that narrative actually is upon the collective psyche of our people. Within the U.S. government's doctrine on psychological warfare, it states that the most effective way to subdue and control a targeted population without actually physically fighting them is by misleading them to believe that their core problem is an internalized one. When people have been made to believe that their core problem is an internalized one, this makes them self-loathing, and it shifts their collective aggressions away from their enemies and redirects it inwards against themselves. And as long as people are kept within this noted condition, they can then be ruled over forever. This is precisely what believing in the Willie Lynch slave syndrome myth does to many black people. When we believe that our core problem is an internalized one, this creates self-doubt within our abilities to unify and liberate ourselves. This then demoralizes us, divides us, and shifts our collective aggressions and frustrations away from the white oppressive society, and it redirects it against ourselves. And as long as we're kept believing that our core problem is an internalized one, we can then be ruled over forever. This is why white oppressive forces wants us believing that is true when it's in fact not. When black people spread the narrative that our people are suffering from some past trauma inflicted upon us during slavery, we are actually functioning in ways that are against our own best interests. Whenever people are kept ignorant of the truth, they can always be made to function in ways that are complicit within their own demise. Within this video, I will demonstrate that our core problem is not an internalized one, but is actually created by what oppressive external forces. Critically think, if our condition was truly connected to something that was done to us during slavery, then our symptoms and the effects would logically lessen with each new generation as we move further away from the era of slavery. That's a logical conclusion and an intelligent deduction. But this isn't the case at all regarding our condition. Our condition has in fact worsened. It is worse today than it was 60 years ago. The African American culture changed from calling ourselves brothers and sisters, and we called our oppressors crackers. Today, we're now calling ourselves by the N word and the B word, and we're calling our oppressors white people. Clearly, we're now respecting ourselves much lesser, and we're respecting our oppressors much more. We also changed from declaring that black is beautiful and wearing our beautiful natural afros to now bleaching our skins and wearing European weaves. We also changed from unanimously knowing that white oppressive forces were our worst enemies to now millions insisting that we're our worst enemies. Our black collective aggressions have also shifted away from the white oppressive society and has now been redirected against our own people. 50 years ago, we proudly agreed that we all came from Africa. Today, millions are insisting that we're not from Africa. Although millions of us have taken DNA analysis that have scientifically proven our African identity. The false belief that we're not from Africa actually benefits the system of global white supremacy. Because when Africans in the U.S. are divided from Africans on the continent, we lose our global numerical advantage and loses all hopes of ever defeating global white supremacy. We are more confused, divided, and more self-loathing than at any previous time in history. The fact that we're worse off today than we were 60 years ago is proof that our collective condition has nothing to do with a silly traumatic slave syndrome myth. Because if our condition was connected to something that was done to us during the enslavement of our ancestors, then the effects would logically lessen with each new generation as we move further away from the era of slavery, not worsening as it has. Our condition has worsened from what it was 60 years ago. And take notice of the fact that these changes within our culture actually benefits the white society. It's always by deliberate design whenever the oppressed changes in ways that are benefits the oppressors. The truth of our plight and condition is the result of an elaborate ideological subversion system that was deployed against the African American population. It was deployed in response to that decade's unprecedented unified black protest. It's how they ensure it never happens again. Ideological subversion is when propaganda has been used to change a people's mindsets in ways that are against their own interests, and instead in ways serving those that are deploying the ideological subversion system. It is the truth of our plight and condition. This is what white oppressive forces have done to the African American population. It's how white oppressive forces neutralize the Black Power movement and how they ensure that such level of unified black protest never happens again. They're waging a covert war against us that most don't understand. This is why those of us who know the truth must teach African proverb. In 1968, white oppressive forces determined that the African American culture had to be fundamentally changed from what it was during the 1960s. They met that objective by deploying an ideological subversion system against the entire African American population. Ideological subversion destroys the people from within by changing them to think and behave in ways that are against their own self-interest. Ideological subversion is an offensive psychological warfare system that uses disinformation, misinformation, and deception as a weapon to change a people's behaviors and beliefs in ways that are against their own self-interest. Case, point, and proof. When black men called ourselves brothers, doing so had a profound unifying impact upon our culture that fueled the 1960s unprecedented unified black protests. Therefore, white oppressive forces used this ideological subversion system to change us from calling ourselves brothers to now calling ourselves by the N-word. This makes it easier to divide us and it easier to turn us against each other. They've cast an elaborate spell upon our subconscious minds by manipulating millions of us to now call ourselves by the N-word. Because doing so actually psychologically assigns us to perceive ourselves through an inherent subordinate identity within the white dominant society that aids the white society in maintaining its social dominance and social capital over us. Within this ideological subversion system, they've also changed our definition of what black heroes are. They changed our heroes from being black leaders like Malcolm X and Dr. King to now perceiving black celebrities as and athletes as being our black heroes. During the 1960s, that generation admired Malcolm X, Dr. King, Angela Davis, and Muhammad Ali. Today's generation are admiring rappers that self-identifies by the N-word, that glorifies pimps, that sexualizes our women while routinely calling them by the B-word. This scenario ensures the deterioration of our future generations. This change was deliberately achieved by deploying this disclosed ideological subversion system against the African American population. This is how they removed black liberating ideologies from our collective psyche. This is why most black people no longer yearn for black liberation. Most instead only wants a comfortable position within the system of white supremacy. It's the truth of our plight and condition. And finally, the white media's unrelenting negative depiction of the black population that amplifies the negative to the point that it distorts our reality is much more than just biased media reporting. It is actually an insidious, black, racially demoralizing, divide and rule psychological warfare campaign that's being deployed against us. Demoralize, divide, and rule is a method of maintaining control over a large targeted population through constant and unrelenting demoralizing propaganda in order to create self-hate and division between the targeted population. This system is deployed like a massive media marketing campaign that constantly subjects the black population to receiving only the fraudulent worst narratives about ourselves. Within this system, fraudulent, black, racially demoralizing propaganda is being pumped unrelentingly into the unsuspecting minds of the black population without being challenged nor counterbalanced by an equal amount of black, positive, racially affirming information. It conveys a subliminal message that black people are now our own worst enemies and that we therefore need whites to govern over our lives. Moreover, that black people should admire, respect, and trust only whites. This system is extremely effective because when black people are constantly, repetitively subjected to receiving those noted narratives from trusted white media sources, it can be very difficult to resist its implied propaganda programming, especially when the propaganda is being told daily and so unrelentingly. Its weapon is the demoralizing message that it carries and the way that it negatively impacts the black population in terms of our behaviors. With time, being unable to refute the constant negative, deplorable information being told about us, many black people eventually comes to accept them. Many black people actually internalize them. Many black people then experience profound feelings of humiliation and we ask ourselves, damn, why we can't get our act together? This constant humiliation then causes us to become resentful towards our own people. It demoralizes us, divides us, creates black self-loathing. And this then shifts our collective aggression away from the white society and redirect towards our own. And in the most extreme cases, many black people will attempt to disassociate ourselves from other black people. Psychologists call this disassociation. It's a defense mechanism that evolves to put a distance between us and the constant humiliation. Some black people will make it their personal mission to go and try to show white people that we're not all bad. This is how they brainwash us. And this is all possible because people are like computers. All you have to do is keep repeatedly giving people certain information and certain media images, and you can steer an entire population towards an applied objective. This is how the white society subdued the Black Power movement of the 1960s. This is the truth of our plight and condition. And it's possible because the white society writes all black narratives and they control all black mainstream media images. The white society therefore literally owns black people's interpretation of our collective state. They've transformed this scenario into their greatest power used for controlling and subduing black protests. They control us by keeping us believing the fraudulent worst narratives about ourselves. This is the truth of our plight and condition. Those black people who insist that they've confirmed their negative assessment about our racial group based upon their own individual experiences are delusional, because it's not humanly possible for anyone to accurately assess the collective state of our people based upon their own experiences. It's not humanly possible. The reason why black people think that they've confirmed it, because once a false belief has been successfully embedded into the human mind, we then only notices those things that appear to confirm the false belief, and we become psychologically blinded from noticing things that refutes it. And then based upon this psychological blindness, we insist that we've confirmed it for ourselves, although we have not. I never said that what I teach will be easy for everyone to comprehend. I said it'll be the truth that sets you free. It is time to liberate our minds, elevate our minds above a biblical fairy tale and a silly slave syndrome myth. We must gain a clear, concise, and accurate understanding of our plight and condition in order to liberate ourselves. Because if our understandings remains flawed, all of our liberating strategies from them will also remain flawed. This is the true reason why white oppressive forces have us drowning in so much false information in regards to our plight and condition. They do so to keep us confused and divided, to prevent us from developing the proper counter strategies that are required to liberate ourselves. Brothers and sisters, it's time to wake the hell up. One love and peace.